What is happening, baby? Welcome back. I said welcome back to this week's episode of the Huddle Chat Sports Show, presented to you by the Huddle Chat Sports Network and yours truly, Dallas Clark, also known as Indo is my Nindo. Now today, we're getting back into the all 32 NFL drafts, and we're getting in to the end of it all, which means that we can only be wrapping up to one beautiful thing. After we get done with the draft talks, of course, we're going to put in our way too early predictions for who we think are going to be the best running backs, the best wide receivers, the offensive and defensive rookie of the year. We're going to be doing all of that predicting, and we're going to be starting to talk about all these teams now in OTAs, training camps, mini camps. All that is around the corner. So we're going to be getting some real nice, hot, fresh news straight off the press, all in preparation for our favorite, the Fantasy Football Huddle. Oh my goodness, I cannot wait to bring you this year of the Fantasy Football Huddle. It's going to be absolutely immaculate, and I cannot wait to help you get the advantage over those other idiots in your fantasy football league this season. Now, also want to announce the beginning of a new thing that we're doing here on the Huddle Chat Sports Network. We're doing the High Roller Huddle here on the Huddle Chat Sports Network. You may have seen it a few times before. We're going to be doing a lot more of these. We're going to help you win some money over on the High Roller Huddle. We're talking straight about those FanDuel, DraftKings, MGM, Caesars, Bet365, whatever it is that you're using. We're going to be talking about winning you some money. So make sure you're checking out the High Roller Huddle as well. They're shorter videos, but it's worth a few minutes just to win yourself some money. Now that all of that is done, I do want to get into some NFL news. Great news coming out of Buffalo. The man, the myth, the legend, Damar Hamlin himself was a full participant this week at OTAs in practice, fully padded up, and that's amazing to see, honestly. Congrats to Damar Hamlin, and I'm sure he's very thankful for all the support that everybody has given him. The crazy thing to me is that Damar Hamlin somehow died and came back still before Michael Thomas. Mike, what's going on, bud? Come on now. Moving on to other news in the NFL. Yesterday, as a recording of this video, the Minnesota Vikings released Dalvin Cook. This was an imminent move. This move was something that a lot of people saw coming for a long time. He spent 6 years with the Minnesota Vikings, 52 career touchdowns. We know the injury history with Dalvin. Me and him got the same shoulder problems going on. And he was owed $10 million as a base salary this year. That was a big problem for the Minnesota Vikings organization. And that's going to be very important to today's episode, as a matter of fact, because we are talking about the Minnesota Vikings 2023 NFL Draft today. Skull! Let's go talk about the Minnesota Vikings. But before we do, I've already done the thanking and I've done the news. Now, I want to make sure that I ask you, if you haven't yet and you do like my content, make sure you please drop a like on the video. And also, we're on our push to 100 subscribers on the new channel. And once we hit 100, we're going to be doing some giveaways, which we will be talking about later. So make sure that if you haven't yet, you take a second, look down at the bottom of the video and see if you are subscribed yet. And if not, make sure you hit that subscriptions bell, or hit the subscriptions bar and hit the notifications bell. So that way you stay notified, so you know when we're talking about your team and you get that news as soon as it comes out. Now that all of that is out the way, it's time to extend the invitation to you. The invitation I extend every episode now, and if there's no, it doesn't hurt my feelings if you decline the invitation, because there's no peer pressure if you don't. But if you do, now is the time to smoke them if you got them. So what we're going to do now is we're going to fill up our cup, roll something up, and let's get right into the news, baby. So we're going to start busting through these picks a little bit quicker than we have been because your time is valuable and almost as valuable as Jordan Addison, the wide receiver from USC that the Minnesota Vikings picked up with their round 1 pick this year. He played very well. From what we've seen in him so far, he's played on 2 different teams, Pitt and USC. And in both of those teams, he played in 2 completely different schemes. He was used completely differently on both squads. With that being said, he played very well in both offensive schemes, being used as more of an underneath wide receiver and as a vertical threat more like he was at USC. So you already know he's got that versatility that you're going to be looking for in a young wide receiver. From what we've heard from the coaching staff in UFC, he's the kind of man that's going to come in and go straight to work. Jordan Addison was obviously their premier pick, being their number 1 pick. And the great thing for Jordan Addison is he's going to be playing number 2, the complement to Justin Jefferson, one of, if not the best wide receiver in the NFL at the current moment. I think that's going to bode extremely well for Jordan Addison coming out of USC, because he doesn't have as much pressure and he is going to be able to be exactly that, a complement to Justin Jefferson. He may be the best route runner that was in this draft class this year. He runs extremely well, has amazing footwork, and can definitely lose defenders and get them confused out in that secondary. He does have that extra gear that he can get into when the ball is in the air or when the ball is in his hands. He can lose defenders and he can go get that ball when it's put out a little bit in front of him. Honestly, Jordan Addison is going to be a day 1 starter, and he's going to be somebody that you're going to want to try to think about adding to your fantasy football draft board when we start getting into the fantasy football huddle. Jordan Addison is going to be a day 1 starter, and he's really going to fill a huge need for the Minnesota Vikings, and I think he's really going to be a competitor for one of the best wide receivers in the draft this year. Staying with USC, it's like a family affair, and you're going to see what I'm talking about with this Minnesota Vikings draft. They went next with Mekhi Blackmon, the cornerback, the opposition to Jordan Addison from USC. I mean, iron sharpens iron. That's the first thing we're going to talk about. That Mekhi Blackmon was guarding Jordan Addison throughout his entire collegiate career at practice. When Jordan Addison was at USC. And like I said, iron sharpens iron. Having to guard one of the best wide receivers in your conference every day at practice is only going to make you better. But without all of that being said, he's a cornerback that plays with extreme speed, and you can see the confidence oozing from his pores. And a cornerback with confidence is something to definitely be scary of. He's got great vision and very good patience. He doesn't have top end speed, but he makes up for that with his high football IQ, his great vision. He always seems to be where he needs to be, and I think that he's definitely going to be an amazing contributor to this defense for the Minnesota Vikings. Now, staying on the defensive side of the ball, we're going over to LSU and talking about their defensive back, Jay Ward, that the Minnesota Vikings just recently drafted. He's an absolute stud on tape. If you watch any YouTube highlights, anything about this young man, Jay Ward, he was a stud out at LSU on tape, and it shows his athleticism. And what makes him one of their most valuable picks in this draft is he's extremely versatile. He can play big nickel, he can play cornerback, he can play strong safety, he can play slot cornerback. He can do it all on the defense, and all of that comes, of course, with great IQ. He's amazing in run support as well, and he's a high-level tackler. One great thing about him is that he prevents the big play, whether that be from the run or the pass. Nothing gets past him. He's a true safety net out there in the defense. He has extremely high upside and could really become a star. I think he may not be an instant starter, but come next year, to year 2, year 3, we're definitely going to be talking about Jay Ward as an instant star on this Minnesota Vikings team. Now, before we start talking about the rest of their picks, as always, I want to give a huge shout out and a huge thank you to our sponsor, Danklyfe brand. Danklyfe is one of the main reasons we have such badass logos, and we're going to have such badass gear to be giving away. Starting with a list of these tumblers that we have, of course, we got that Kobe Bryant Black Mamba We got the Pittsburgh Steelers. We just got done talking about the AFC North. We got a nice Pittsburgh Steelers tumbler. And we got the Tampa Bay Blue Rays as well, who are on an absolute tear in the MLB. And that's just the beginning, just the tip of the iceberg. Some of the few things I'm willing to bust out of the package and show you what we're going to be giving away. It's a sneak peek. If you want to know more, help me help you. Help me get to 100 subscribers, because once we get to 100 subscribers, we will be doing a massive giveaway. Tons of THC Sports merchandise, t-shirts, hoodies, hats, tumblers, all kinds of different things we're going to be giving away. All thanks to our sponsor, Danklyfe brand. They're a huge shout out, and make sure you check them out. I know Father's Day is coming. I know those summer football and baseball leagues are coming. Whether it is a NFL team, a MLB team, a professional team, a youth team, a chess club, a debate team, just a mama's book club / wine party on Wednesdays. It doesn't matter what it is. If you want to get some badass customized apparel, make sure you check out Danklyfe brand, our sponsor. Like, as always, huge shout out to them. Moving on to the last few picks for the Minnesota Vikings. We're going to be staying on the defensive side of the ball. As a matter of fact, we're also going to be staying at LSU. That brings the whole family affair tie back into it. Like I said, those first two picks are going to be coming from USC. The third and fourth picks coming from LSU. They love that family affair. But anyway, Jaquelin Roy, the defensive tackle from LSU, was an excellent value pick. He has great size. He's going to be another big body on this already big, massive Vikings-like defense. He's a strong, physical, violent player, and he can run despite what you would think by looking at his size. He was a very highly touted prospect coming out of high school, went to Baton Rouge High School, as a matter of fact, on LSU's campus, but he never quite lived up to the hype. He has a lot of untapped power, a lot of untapped ability, and he could grow to be a very essential piece to this defense. It may take more than a year. I believe at the beginning he's going to be more of a role player, more of a rotational player. But I believe after year 2, year 3, we're really going to be talking about this young man as being a very essential piece to this defense. The next pick we're going to be talking about is probably one of their most talked about picks. He's going to be Jaren Hall, quarterback out of BYU. He's an excellent athlete. You have to give him that. However, he does lack size. He also lacks arm strength. He has very below average arm strength. He will definitely need to do some growing behind Kirk Cousins. And thankfully, he's behind Kirk Cousins, who wasn't necessarily blessed in the arm strength category, the size category himself. Not saying that he's one of the worst by any means, but Kirk Cousins wins a lot more with his moxie, a lot more with his IQ, with his brains. Kirk Cousins just goes out and does the damn thing. And for anybody, for him to sit back and learn, it's going to be somebody like Kirk Cousins that's going to do him the best. Jaren Hall can run the football. However, his quarterback ability really leaves a lot to be desired. He also needs to get rid of the ball quicker. He holds on to the ball too long and offers too many chances at those sacks. He's very good at getting away from it. But like I said, his quarterback ability as a whole really leaves a lot to be desired. The last pick that we're going to be discussing for the Minnesota Vikings is going to be perhaps the biggest steal of the entire NFL draft. You heard that shit right. The NFL draft's biggest steal went to the Minnesota Vikings. In round 7, the Minnesota Vikings grabbed running back from UAB, Dwayne McBride, and many people, including Mel Kiper himself, think that this may be the biggest steal of the draft. This was in Mel Kiper's top 100 picks this year. Dwayne McBride has crazy leg strength. That's the first thing we have to talk about. He squats 550 pounds, and he hasn't even gotten his man body yet. The man, you can only imagine the man's going to get stronger in the first few years of his NFL career. I believe that in the last 3 rounds of the NFL draft, every single fan of a team that was really paying attention to drafts and draft prospects and mock drafts and all that good stuff were really wanting Dwayne McBride to come to their team. He was a very highly touted prospect, and a lot of people were expecting him to go in the 5th round. Sliding down to the 7th made him one of the hugest steals of the NFL draft for the Minnesota Vikings. First off, he does not let one person bring him down. You need to gang tackle this young man. He's a powerhouse, but he also has the quickness and elusivity to make people miss in open field. If you let him get into open field, goodbye, see you later. He's got that speed that he will take you on the long journey. He averaged 157.5 yards per game last season. He definitely is going to be a great complement to Alexander Mattison, and I think eventually after the first year, we really might be talking about him potentially earning that starting spot. As far as we're looking at a 1-2 punch, he may end up being number one. Dwayne McBride was a great pick. Let me know what you think was the best pick for the Minnesota Vikings. Personally, I've seen a lot of different ratings for the Minnesota Vikings draft. A lot of them a little lower than I would expect. Me personally, I really did like the Minnesota Vikings draft. I'm going to be giving them a nice B+ for this year's draft. I think they have a few picks early on in the draft that are going to come in instantaneously and make impacts. And I think most of their picks, for the most part of the back half of their draft, are going to grow into very big roles for this team. I think the Minnesota Vikings did great, and they looked at they looked at the couple of holes that they had on their roster, and they said we were going to attack them. And a lot of the times when you looked at their picks, they were the highest available player at that position at the time. I think that they really hit the nail on the head. I'm excited to see what the Minnesota Vikings have in store this year, as I'm sure you are as well, Minnesota Vikings fans. If you've made it this far into the video and you haven't yet, please drop a like, because if you don't like the video, I mean, what do I got to do to make you like it? Are you just watching it to hate on it at this point? Because if so, comment and let me know what the hell I'm doing wrong. Anyway, I'm going to get the fuck up out of here. As always, keep your chins up and your attitudes down. I'll see you next time. Y'all have a good one. I'm out of here.
Thank you.